Hey YouTube, Meef here. Welcome to episode 32 of our FTB Continuum quick tips and tricks. This time we're getting into finally getting a successful Emmy network put together. So there's some things that have to happen in order to actually get a Emmy controller set up. Let's take a look at that real quick here. So we've got our Emmy controller. Don't worry about this energy acceptor because we're not going to use it. But as you can see, there's some significant parts that we have to get together in order to get this bitch to actually function. And you can see here, the biggest issue is going to be this 36 million RF at 2000 RF per tick. I can confirm, as you can see right here, that's the beginning of an Emmy network, that this setup here, these 8 RF storage units attached to these hardened flux ducts, this will provide you with enough. It's the 2000 RF per tick. This will do it. Get your power cell, your high power cell, and stick it on top of here, right in here. Point it downward. 2500 RF per tick should come out of that thing. You only need one controller or one RF control in order to get that to work. So again, let's take a look at this. There is a significant expense into this thing. The Nether Star is the least of your worries. I think the most expensive part here is going to be these data orbs. And if you look at these, you're looking at 8 regular circuits in here, 24 emeralds, a whole bunch of lapis, redstone, and glowstone. And then times that by 4. This is significantly expensive too. You're looking at more emeralds here, and then these stupid ass advanced electronic circuits. So these things are not cheap. Not cheap at all. And I don't want to say it's incredibly time consuming, but it is. The iridium is tough to find. You're looking at, there's a bunch of iridium here. So keep that in mind. You're going to have that ahead of time. You're going to have to make these, and you got to have these data control circuits. So these really aren't that terrible to make, these data orbs. It's time consuming. As you can see here off to the left, my kiwi field has been regrowing itself over and over and over. I spent literally a couple hours probably just farming these out. You probably could automate the setup. I didn't, because I actually wanted to do that later on with some other stuff. I really don't like the way it replants these kiwis, because it pulls the whole plant. With the watering can, the Signalum version of that, does a 9x9 area. I put the sink over here, and then just keep hosing this down. I come up with stacks in like not even a minute or two. So I don't think the farming is worth it. It's up to you. If you want to go ahead and do it, go for it. Just keep in mind that you're going to have some kind of whatever in order to get emeralds out of here. So you're looking at that emerald plate. Get that going. The one other thing I wanted to talk about really quick here on this controller was this empowered Paintless crystal block. Now, this isn't really complicated anything, but you're going to notice here that something is not quite normal. So your Paintless crystal block is no big deal. That's just, it's going to be your lapis lazuli block, shoot it with your atomic reconstructor here, no big deal. But the empowered version of that, it requires prismarine shards. Now, depending on where you are, this might take some time. Now, there was an easy way to do this because I found one of those underwater shrines. The great thing about it is take a mob entrapment tool or one of those safari nets, whatever the hell you want to call it, and you can actually capture those bitches. Just grab a guardian, no big deal. As you can see here, this imprisonment tool's got one in it with 30 health. I just went over there and just grabbed one quick. But within a matter of, I had some stored essence here. Piles of prismarine shards, no big deal. You even end up with some random fish parts here that you could use for food, which is kind of cool. But easiest way to do this is use it in the mob spawner. They spawn and they're pretty much instantly killed, so don't worry about the water. Dump them in there. For what you're doing here, just run it and go. Again, there's some episodes out there for where to make that stuff and kind of set up the mob spawner. So don't worry about the water. Again, just throw it in there and go to town. So, so we've got the Emmy controller part is pretty much set. We kind of talked about the iridium and then the prismarine stuff, but there's also a few other parts that we're going to have to get hooked in here. And one of those being is the charger. So this is what happens. You're making charged Certus quartz here, and you should find that stuff in the wild. It's not too difficult to find, and you'll notice it's there right away. But in order to make this charger, let's bring this up. And we're going to go over some more of this advanced stuff later on, but right now I want to get the very basics down so you can get started doing this, because it's pretty simple. Let's take a look at the charger. This is not complicated. You're going to want to make Fluix crystals, and then it's just going to take some iron. So how in the hell do you make a Fluix crystal? Well, I don't have the pieces here, so I'm going to have to do this real quick. Get this set up. That's good to go. Okay, so we've got a charged Certus quartz crystal here. Need a nether quartz, and of course the other part is redstone, so grab one of those right away. And I am out, so I've been grinding quartz here, and let's take a look at this. So the thing with this, to make any of this Certus or the Fluix crystals, it's always going to take a charged Certus quartz crystal. So throw that in a puddle, make a puddle along with the redstone and a piece of nether quartz, and you can watch these guys. That's all it takes. They just pop, and there you have it, 2 Fluix crystals. So materials here with AE2 are pretty much the same. You're going to notice one slight difference though, and let's put this stuff back, and we'll get to that in just a minute here. But now that you've got a charger, you can make charged Certus quartz with just regular quartz, as you saw that I just did here. Remember that you have to power from the top. I think you can power from the bottom as well, but I just made a little hook here. Eventually I'm going to take this storage scanner out, and we're going to start consolidating this stuff, but we'll get to that. Fortunately, with the Emmy controller here, I guess I should explain that. I just hooked it into a power line. There isn't a whole lot of draw here, but there is a draw, so just keep that in mind. Hooked it right into RF. Didn't need an energy acceptor or any of that shit. Just threw it on here. It's ready to rock. Okay, let's take a look at this next piece here. The Inscriber. This isn't real complicated. It's just a couple sticky pistons and then a Fluix crystal. But you might be asking, since if you've used this in the past, you're gonna say, "Oh, well, we're gonna, where are the patterns for it?" Well, the thing about this is, in order to get those, you can't. Or maybe you can. I don't know. I'm not going to try this and put it in there because I really don't give a shit. I don't think you can do it anyway. Didn't try it. But in order to make these, just a second here, they're done in the EFAB. So 5 seconds, 50k RF at 500 RF per tick. And that's for everything. So you've got your diamonds. We'll do the same thing. They'll just go into the EFAB. They'll come out printed engineering circuit. So you might be asking, well, why in the hell do we need, the Inscriber? Well, you still have to put these together. There's silicone too. You still have to put these together in here in order to actually make the full-fledged processor, or whatever that is. Let's take a look here. I think I have some pieces, parts in here just to demo this real quick. Let's get that out. And was it a diamond? Nope. Maybe I don't. Oh, yep, there it is. There's an engineering circuit there. Okay, so these three here are the 3 pieces in order to make this work. If you've done this in AE2, it functions the same, so you can shift click these in. They'll usually go into the right spot. And there we go. So as long as this has got power, like it does here, you can kind of see the contents are inside. There's the finished processor, and that's all there is to it. So these aren't real expensive. Raw material cost is going to be a pain in the ass. So the next part here, once you've got those two devices in your Emmy controller, we're going to want to get together some Emmy cable. And these aren't real complicated to make. As you can see here, the Fluix crystals are going to come in. Quartz fiber is what's next. And that's just glass and then Certus quartz dust. So you can put that stuff in the grinder. I usually try and keep a bunch of this stuff in stock. It's just easy to keep that there. You can use nether quartz or regular quartz to pick that stuff up. So you're going to want some cable just because. Let's take a look at the Emmy drive. So this is kind of what's going to house out your storage components. Now, storage components are what is actually doing the storage stuff here that allows you to put stuff in it. So let's take a look at this real quick. Let's start with the drive. You're looking at a couple engineering processors, some glass cable, and then some iron. So this is relatively simple. You don't necessarily have to have this attached to the controller. As long as it's got a cable hooked to it, you're good to go. Do keep in mind that depending on what you're using with cables here, we do have to kind of pay attention to, there's a certain amount of channels, and we'll get into that later. This basic setup, you don't need to worry about it, okay? Just to get the basic storage and stuff going, just set it up like this. It works relatively well. You can see here I've got a 1K Emmy storage cell in here. This is your just very basic cell. These aren't real complicated to make. Just some redstone, the processor, and you end up with a component. Components by themselves don't do a whole hell of a lot. What you'd want to do is get those set up into an Emmy storage cell. So here's the 1K. These aren't real complicated either. Again, it's just quartz glass. And there's your storage component. As you advance, you'll see that these get a little bit more complicated. You can pull these storage cells out, and then you end up with Emmy storage housing. As you get more advanced here, these get a little bit crazier. And I think with extra cells, it can do some other stuff here, but 64K, well, full drive of these will store a hell of a lot of shit. So just kind of keep that in mind. So that's pretty much it for the drive. You can fill these up. It's got 10 slots right now. You can see that it's 0 of 100 or 1024 bytes used, and 0 of 63 types. So this is, depending on what you stuff into the storage cell, that'll be the amount that it'll actually hold, and we'll kind of show that later on. But just keep in mind that this is your very basic storage cell for this. Okay. Now we're going to get into this crafting terminal, and we're going to get into this. I'm going to show you what it is. So here's the crafting terminal, and this isn't complicated either. Your basic Emmy terminal will get you the ability to put stuff in and out of the network. And they're relatively simple as well. Just get yourself some illuminated panels. You can get the dark ones too, but these are relatively easy to set up. So this set of materials here is going to get you 3 illuminated panels. And then we're looking at some formation and annihilation cores. These aren't expensive, literally just Fluix dust. Again, run that through the grinder, and some processors. So this is your formation core, and that's done with Certus. And let's go back here quick. Your annihilation core is going to be done with nether quartz. And you get 2 of those for your trouble. So in order to get this, I don't usually keep these Emmy, regular Emmy terminals. I push these straight into Emmy crafting terminals. And this looks pretty simple, right? Except for the calculation processor. And you're going to see here that this requires pure Certus quartz crystals. Now, these aren't something that you just get. So these pure Certus quartz crystals have to be grown from Certus quartz seeds. Now, if you've ever had to do this, the amount of time it takes in order to get these fucking seeds to actually get to 100% takes fucking forever. It's a huge pain in the ass, and they did it on purpose. The goal is to actually set up these crystal growth accelerators. Now, what you would do is you would set this up so that you put one underneath, and then four. What you want to do is contain a water block with 5 of these things. You can do 6 with some pistons and shit, but it's not worth it. But the thing of it is you have to use Emmy cables to power these things, which is a huge fucking pain in the ass. Especially if you're low on materials. I don't like doing it. It's a fucking pain, and it still takes a while. Fortunately, there is a fast and easy solution to this, so I would recommend that you bypass those growth accelerators setup altogether. And the reason for that being is that, let's see, there is a crystal growth chamber from AE2 stuff. This thing is not complicated to build. You're building an extra, crystal growth accelerator. These things aren't expensive. They might look like they are. If you made enough cable, start with 20. Get 20 of these things together. You should have enough for the basic machines. Get yourself enough quartz glass to make this work. This is worth it. This Fluix block is only for these bad boys. So, not that complicated. Get this thing together. It's super easy. You don't have to set shit up. As you can see, I've got one hanging off the Emmy controller here. In order to get this thing to be powered, you're going to have to hook it into the Emmy controller, because otherwise you're going to need an energy acceptor. Just use this bad boy. It's worth it. And I'll demo it right now. I've actually got a couple seeds here. I'm going to take one, and we're going to go throw it in this puddle. And we'll demo this. We got a little bit of time here. So that guy's just going to sit there. Let's give it a second here. You know what's kind of doing its business when you see the little bubble mark? Kind of doing whatever. I'm going to pick this guy up. See, it didn't do anything. Let's just throw that in there. This is going to take fucking forever. But if we stuff this Certus Quartz seed into this machine, let's take a look here. You can see it. Look how freaking fast it goes. So for, probably 5 minutes of your time, you're making pure Certus Quartz seeds. Or pure Certus Quartz crystals out of seeds. So 95%, that's it. That's all it took. So I recommend you completely bypass that. Don't even fuck around. Just do it. It'll be worth it, I promise. Let's go take a look over here. I bet this thing, yeah, it doesn't look like it really did anything. It's at 27%. So they're slow. I guess it could have gone slower, I guess, in past AE2 versions. Sometimes this would take hours for these things to grow. You can do it in the water, go for it. I would just do it this way. It's super fast, plus you can do stacks of these bitches at a time, and they're just done. In fact, I think you can even put accelerator cards in here to make it go even faster. So keep in mind that's there for you. Pretty simple. So let's get back into our applied energistics stuff here. And let's get back to our crafting terminal. So your calculation processor, and then this just goes into the Inscriber once you've done this. This ends up in the EFAP. Pretty much the same as the other processor, or the circuits. So that should be no big deal. So you may have been wondering, why in the hell has there been such a push to get to this Emmy network? And the reason for that has been let me show you here. Let's just go with a couple stacks here. I'm going to put these in here. The reason I really like AE2 and all the ME stuff is that it's the crafting part is most of it, but a lot of the interface itself is super. It's just awesome. So if we're looking, let's say, okay, I know that, we're looking for iron bars here. All we got to do is type in iron bars, click on iron bars, and it automatically shifts this stuff in here. Now the modular storage stuff is great. Now this is on iron bars, so let's get rid of this. But whatever we're looking for, and there might be a way to snap this in if you fuck around with the configurations. I'm not going to necessarily do that. But the reason I really like this is because it's fast, and you can get this to set up so that, whoops, we can get this set up so that the sort is different here. So if we had this stuff in inventory, we could actually move it around. But rather than, let's say you've got 13 or several different stacks of this stuff. I'm going to keep this one here. If you pick these up and then shift click, they all go at one time. That's one of the reasons I really like this. The functionality here, it's there, it seems like it's just slow. I do like modular storage, it's great, it's low power, but I don't like the way the chests and stuff are laid out. It's good for that. There might be some different stuff we could do with that later, but I prefer the Emmy network, especially for the way it all is intuitive with the crafting stuff. So, we're kind of getting over that 20-minute mark, but this is your basic Emmy network. As you can see here, there is some stuff in there. 3 of the 63 types, and the reason there's 3 of the 63 types is because if my machine would stop locking up. 3 of 63. So for that 1K storage cell, you get the option for 63 different types, and then you can fill it up with whatever shit you want. There are ways to partition those cells out, but that is definitely for another episode. So this should get you going with your basic Emmy network. Definitely check out and look at your better questing stuff, because once you do, you're going to notice that there's a whole bunch of stuff here that you can just put together. And you're going to have to do this stuff anyway, and it works well. So get that Emmy network together. It's pretty damn sweet. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Till next time.